The celestial station was abuzz with renewed energy as the day of Kiri's departure approached. The Zinthar delegation had arrived to take their pet back, and the atmosphere was a mix of anticipation and bittersweet farewell. The Galactic Council's resolution had paved the way for a new chapter in interspecies relations, and now the humans and the Zinthar were preparing to part ways with a sense of cautious optimism. Laura Mitchell and Captain Mark Reynolds stood with Kiri in the spaceport. The pet had grown fond of its human caretakers, and saying goodbye was not easy. Kiri's eyes were filled with a mix of curiosity and sadness as it looked up at Laura, who gently stroked its fur. "You've been so brave, Kiri," Laura said softly. "We've all learned so much from you. I hope you find happiness with your own kind." Kiri nuzzled Laura's hand as if understanding her words. The bond they had formed was evident, and the humans knew this farewell was not just about returning a pet. It was about closing a chapter of compassion and understanding. Commander Vec, standing nearby with a respectful distance, approached the humans. "We appreciate your care for Kiri," he said, his tone more measured now. "Your actions have shown that even in times of conflict, kindness prevails." Captain Reynolds nodded. "Thank you. We hope this marks the beginning of a positive relationship between our species." With the formalities completed, Kiri was gently loaded onto the Zinthar's shuttle. The pet looked back one last time at its human friends before the ramp was sealed. The shuttle's engines roared to life, and as it lifted off, the spaceport watched with a sense of resolution. The departure of Kiri was more than just a return of a pet. It symbolized the beginning of a new era. The Galactic Council had used the situation to foster a deeper understanding between the Zinthar and humans. The resolution had not only addressed the immediate concerns, but also opened doors for future cooperation. Back at Celestial Station, Laura and her team felt a mix of relief and anticipation. The experience had been challenging, but it had brought about significant changes. The humans had gained respect for their handling of the situation, and the Zinthar had been given a chance to show their capacity for reconciliation. The Council's decision had also initiated a collaborative project between the Zinthar and humans. The joint project aimed to explore new technologies and cultural exchanges, further solidifying the bond between the two species. This initiative was seen as a way to build on the goodwill generated by the Kiri incident. As the days passed, the story of Kiri and the humans' compassion began to spread throughout the galaxy. The tale was shared in news feeds, interstellar communications, and even as part of educational programs. It became a symbol of hope and cooperation, illustrating how even in the midst of conflict, understanding and empathy could lead to positive outcomes. Laura, Captain Reynolds, and their team continued their work on Celestial Station with renewed enthusiasm. They were now seen as ambassadors of goodwill, and their efforts were making a tangible impact on interspecies relations. The humans were recognized not only for their technological advancements, but also for their ability to bridge gaps and build friendships. One day, as Laura looked out at the bustling spaceport, she reflected on the journey they had undertaken. The Celestial Station, a hub of interstellar activity, continued its busy operations despite the chaos that had unfolded. Among the many different species passing through, a group of humans arrived. They were part of an Earth delegation sent to represent their planet in the galactic community. This group consisted of diplomats, scientists, and a few military personnel, all tasked with building alliances and exploring new opportunities. As the humans disembarked from their sleek silver shuttle, they immediately noticed the commotion at the spaceport. The atmosphere was tense and whispers of political upheaval filled the air. However, their attention was soon drawn to a more immediate concern. In a quiet corner of the bustling spaceport, they saw Kiri, an alien pet that seemed out of place amidst the hurried alien traffic. Dr. Laura Mitchell, the lead scientist of the human delegation, was the first to approach. Her compassionate nature had always driven her to help those in need, no matter how different they might be. As she walked closer, she saw the distressed pet huddled alone, its once vibrant fur now dull and matted. Kiri's eyes, which had once sparkled with curiosity, now looked tired and fearful. "Look at that," Laura said softly to her team. "That poor creature looks like it's been abandoned." The other humans gathered around, their faces reflecting concern and curiosity. Captain Mark Reynolds, the team leader, nodded in agreement. "We should find out more about it. It doesn't look like it's safe here alone." Laura approached Kiri gently, speaking in a soothing tone. "Hello there. Are you all right?" She extended her hand slowly, trying not to startle the frightened pet. Kiri looked up with wary eyes, but something in Laura's gentle voice seemed to provide a small measure of comfort. The pet hesitated but did not retreat. Laura reached out and, with the help of her team, carefully offered Kiri some food and water. The creature, though hesitant at first, began to eat and drink, its condition improving slightly. The team worked to make Kiri more comfortable. They set up a small, temporary shelter using supplies they had brought with them. The spaceport's facilities were cold and impersonal, but the humans did their best to create a warm and safe space for Kiri. They treated its fur with care, brushing out the tangles and giving it medical attention for any wounds or signs of distress. As they worked, they learned more about Kiri's background. They discovered that Kiri was a pet of the Zinthar, an advanced race who had left it behind in their rush to escape the political chaos. The humans realized that Kiri was not just an abandoned pet, but a symbol of something much larger, a crisis affecting not only the Zinthar, but potentially the entire galactic community. The news of Kiri's rescue began to spread throughout the spaceport. Various aliens who had initially ignored or avoided the pet started to take notice. Some were curious, while others were intrigued by the humans' actions. Among them was an elderly alien named Zarnak, who had seen many things in his lifetime. He approached the humans with a thoughtful expression. "You have done a kind thing," Zarnak said in a gravelly voice. "Few would have bothered to help an abandoned pet from a distant world." Laura smiled warmly. "We couldn't just leave it here. It needs help, and we're here to provide it." As days passed, Kiri's condition continued to improve under the humans' care. The pet began to trust its new guardians, its eyes brightening with each passing day. It played with the small toys the humans had brought, and even began to show signs of happiness. The humans' actions did not go unnoticed by others in the spaceport. They became known as the compassionate group who had stepped in to help when no one else would. Their decision to care for Kiri was a small act of kindness that started to ripple through the spaceport, hinting at the potential for new alliances and understanding among the galaxy's diverse inhabitants. Kiri, once a symbol of abandonment, was now a living testament to the power of empathy and the impact of one group's decision to stand up and make a difference. As the humans continued to care for the pet, they unknowingly set the stage for a larger story of interstellar compassion and cooperation. The celestial station buzzed with activity as the humans from Earth arrived. They were part of a diplomatic mission, eager to make their mark in the galactic community. Among them were Dr. Laura Mitchell, a compassionate scientist, Captain Mark Reynolds, a seasoned military leader, and a few other experts. They came with high hopes and an open mind, ready to explore new alliances and opportunities. As they disembarked from their sleek silver shuttle, they noticed the tension in the air. News of the Zinthar coup had spread quickly, and the spaceport was alive with whispers of political turmoil. Despite the chaos, something caught Laura's eye, a small, lonely creature huddled in a corner of the spaceport. Laura's heart went out to the creature. It was Kiri, the Zinthar pet, abandoned and alone. Its once vibrant fur was now matted, and its eyes, which had sparkled with wonder, were clouded with fear. The pet looked lost and vulnerable amid the bustling spaceport. Laura turned to her team. "We need to help that creature. It doesn't look like it's safe here by itself." Captain Reynolds nodded. "Agreed. Let's see what we can do." The humans approached Kiri slowly, trying not to startle it. Laura spoke softly, her voice filled with kindness. "Hey there, it's all right. We're here to help." Kiri looked up with cautious eyes. Laura carefully extended her hand, offering a piece of food. At first, Kiri hesitated, but the scent of the food was inviting. Slowly, it took the offering and began to eat. The other team members set up a small makeshift shelter using supplies they had on hand, creating a cozy space for Kiri to rest. Laura and her team continued to care for Kiri, providing it with clean water, food, and medical attention. They noticed that Kiri had minor wounds and a few signs of exhaustion. With gentle hands and soothing words, they tended to its needs. As they worked, they learned more about Kiri's background. It was clear that the Zinthar had left Kiri behind in their hurry to escape the chaos back home. The humans' actions did not go unnoticed. Word spread through the spaceport about the Earth delegation's compassionate act. Some of the spaceport's inhabitants, who had previously been indifferent, began to take an interest. Among them was an elderly alien named Zarnak, who had seen many things over his long life. He approached the humans with a mix of curiosity and respect. "You have shown great kindness," Zarnak said with a deep, gravelly voice. "Few would have stopped to help an abandoned creature." Laura smiled warmly. "We couldn't just leave it behind. Kiri needed help and we were here." As days passed, Kiri's condition improved. The pet's fur began to regain its shine, and its eyes sparkled with renewed trust. It played with the small toys the humans provided, and even started to show signs of happiness. The bond between Kiri and the humans grew stronger each day. The humans' compassion made a lasting impression. They became known as the group that had stepped in to help when no one else would. Their actions began to influence others in the spaceport, sparking conversations about empathy and cooperation. Slowly, attitudes shifted as more beings began to see the humans in a new light. Kiri, once a symbol of abandonment, had become a beacon of hope and kindness. The humans' decision to care for Kiri was more than just an act of compassion. It was a step towards building bridges between different worlds. The small act of helping an abandoned pet had set the stage for a larger story of understanding and connection in the galaxy. As the humans continued to provide care for Kiri, they unknowingly laid the groundwork for new friendships and alliances. The pet's presence had become a catalyst for change, and the galaxy began to see the humans not just as newcomers, but as allies who valued kindness and cooperation. The Zinthar Empire was in turmoil. Back home, their capital was under siege, and the leaders were scrambling to regain control. Amid this chaos, a single piece of news cut through the noise like a knife. Their beloved pet, Kiri, had been taken by humans. This news reached the Zinthar's emergency command center, where panic and anger quickly took hold. Zaral, the Zinthar's head of security, paced the room with a scowl. How could we let this happen? Kiri was a symbol of our empire, and now it's in the hands of those Earthlings. The Zinthar, known for their pride and advanced technology, were furious. Kiri's abandonment was already a blow to their prestige, but having it taken by a species they had little respect for was a deep insult. Zaral's anger was palpable as he issued a directive. "Prepare a retrieval team," Zaral ordered. "We need to get Kiri back. Make it clear to the humans that we will not tolerate this." As the Zinthar prepared their response, the humans on Celestial Station were going about their daily routine, continuing to care for Kiri. The pet had settled into a more comfortable routine, enjoying the attention and affection from its new human friends. But this peace was about to be shattered. A Zinthar delegation, led by Commander Vek, arrived at the spaceport. Vek was known for his stern demeanor and unyielding loyalty to the Zinthar cause. His eyes blazed with determination as he strode through the spaceport, flanked by a squad of elite soldiers. The air around him seemed to crackle with tension. Laura Mitchell and her team were caught off guard when they saw the imposing Zinthar soldiers approaching. Captain Reynolds stepped forward to meet them. "Can we help you?" Commander Vek's voice was cold and commanding. "We are here to retrieve Kiri, the Zinthar pet. It was taken from us during our time of crisis, and we demand its return immediately." Laura's heart sank. "Kiri is safe here. We took it in when it was abandoned. It's not just a pet to us, it's a living being that needs care." Vek's eyes narrowed. "Your intentions do not change the fact that Kiri belongs to us. We will not leave without it." The spaceport's atmosphere grew tense as the two sides faced off. The Zinthar delegation made it clear they would not back down, and their presence was a stark reminder of the power and influence they wielded. The humans, on the other hand, were determined to protect Kiri. Laura tried to reason with Vek. "We understand your position, but you must understand ours as well. Kiri was left behind, and we have cared for it in its time of need." Vek was unmoved. "The Zinthar have lost much in this upheaval. Kiri's retrieval is non-negotiable. If you refuse to return it, we will consider it an act of defiance." Captain Reynolds stepped in, his voice firm. "We cannot simply hand over Kiri. It has become part of our care and our responsibility. Is there no other way to resolve this without conflict?" The Zinthar delegation was unwavering. They demanded immediate action, and the tension reached a boiling point. The spaceport's other inhabitants watched with a mix of curiosity and concern as the standoff continued. Laura and her team realized they were facing a critical moment. They needed to find a way to resolve the situation without escalating it further. The humans were determined not to give up Kiri, but they also knew they had to find a compromise to avoid a potential confrontation. In the midst of the standoff, Zarnak, the elderly alien who had admired the humans' compassion, stepped forward. He addressed both sides with a voice full of wisdom and calm. "Perhaps," Zarnak said, "there is a way to resolve this without further conflict. The Zinthar's pride and the humans' compassion are both important. Let us find a solution that respects both." His words hung in the air as both sides considered the possibility of a peaceful resolution. The future of Kiri and the potential for new alliances rested on finding common ground in this heated moment. The Celestial Station was a place of bustling activity, but now it was a hub of tension and anticipation. The Zinthar delegation, with Commander Vec at the helm, had made their demands clear. The humans, led by Dr. Laura Mitchell and Captain Mark Reynolds, stood firm in their resolve to protect Kiri. The impasse had drawn the attention of the Galactic Council, the governing body that oversaw relations between different species. The Council convened an emergency session to address the crisis. Representatives from various planets and species gathered in the Grand Council chamber, a vast circular space filled with holographic displays and alien symbols. The air was thick with anticipation as the council members prepared to deliberate on the matter. Chairwoman Ilara, a dignified figure from the neutral planet of Althera, presided over the meeting. Her role was to mediate and ensure that the discussion remained fair and balanced. As she looked out at the assembled representatives, she knew that this decision would have far-reaching implications for interstellar relations. "Ilara, we must act swiftly," Vec insisted. "The Zinthar demand the immediate return of Kiri. It is a matter of honor and respect." Laura Mitchell, standing beside Captain Reynolds, spoke up. "Kiri was abandoned and found by us. We've provided it with care and safety. We understand the Zinthar's position, but we ask for a fair resolution." The council members listened carefully to both sides. Some representatives showed sympathy towards the humans, acknowledging their compassion. Others were more aligned with the Zinthar, understanding the importance of Kiri to their cultural identity. Ilara raised her hand for silence. "This situation is delicate. We must find a solution that respects both the Zinthar's rights and the humans' actions. We will now hear from both parties in a structured manner." The council session began with the Zinthar presenting their case. Commander Vec described the importance of Kiri to the Zinthar people and the insult they felt at having their pet taken by another species. His words were impassioned and filled with the Zinthar's sense of honor. Laura and Captain Reynolds then presented their side. They detailed the circumstances of Kiri's abandonment and the care they had provided. They emphasized their commitment to treating Kiri with respect and their desire to find a solution that would not lead to conflict. As the arguments were presented, the council members debated fiercely. They discussed the implications of returning Kiri to the Zinthar versus the ethical considerations of leaving it with the humans who had cared for it. The debate was heated but focused on finding a balanced resolution. After hours of discussion, Chairwoman Ilara called for a vote. The representatives cast their votes in favor of a compromise that would address the concerns of both parties. The decision was as follows. Return of Kiri. Kiri would be returned to the Zinthar, acknowledging their cultural and emotional connection to the pet. However, this would be done with a formal apology and a recognition of the human's role in caring for Kiri during its time of need. Recognition of compassion. The Galactic Council would formally commend the humans for their compassion and care. This acknowledgement would be recorded in the Council's archives and would help improve Earth's standing in the galactic community. Future cooperation. The Council would encourage the Zinthar and humans to work together on a joint project to further interspecies understanding and cooperation. This would serve as a gesture of goodwill and help build stronger relations. The decision was announced, and both sides were given time to react. Vec, though still stern, accepted the compromise with a nod. "We appreciate the Council's resolution. We will take Kiri back with the understanding that our actions have been noted." Laura and Captain Reynolds expressed their gratitude. "We appreciate the Council's acknowledgement of our efforts. We hope this decision leads to a better understanding between our species." The council chamber buzzed with the hum of satisfied voices as the meeting concluded. The resolution had been reached, and while it was not a perfect solution for everyone, it was a step towards greater harmony. Kiri, once caught in the middle of a heated dispute, would be returning to the Zinthar, but not before leaving a mark on the galactic stage. As the humans prepared to say goodbye to Kiri, they felt a sense of accomplishment. They had managed to protect the pet they had grown fond of while also helping to bridge a gap between two different worlds. The decision marked a new chapter in interstellar relations, one built on empathy, respect, and cooperation. The celestial station was abuzz with renewed energy as the day of Kiri's departure approached. The Zinthar delegation had arrived to take their pet back, and the atmosphere was a mix of anticipation and bittersweet farewell. The Galactic Council's resolution had paved the way for a new chapter in interspecies relations, and now the humans and the Zinthar were preparing to part ways with a sense of cautious optimism. Laura Mitchell and Captain Mark Reynolds stood with Kiri in the spaceport. The pet had grown fond of its human caretakers, and saying goodbye was not easy. Kiri's eyes were filled with a mix of curiosity and sadness as it looked up at Laura, who gently stroked its fur. "You've been so brave, Kiri," Laura said softly. "We've all learned so much from you. I hope you find happiness with your own kind." Kiri nuzzled Laura's hand as if understanding her words. The bond they had formed was evident, and the humans knew this farewell was not just about returning a pet, it was about closing a chapter of compassion and understanding. Commander Vec, standing nearby with a respectful distance, approached the humans. "We appreciate your care for Kiri," he said, his tone more measured now. "Your actions have shown that even in times of conflict, kindness prevails." Captain Reynolds nodded. "Thank you. We hope this marks the beginning of a positive relationship between our species." With the formalities completed, Kiri was gently loaded onto the Zinthar's shuttle. The pet looked back one last time at its human friends before the ramp was sealed. The shuttle's engines roared to life, and as it lifted off, the spaceport watched with a sense of resolution. The departure of Kiri was more than just a return of a pet. It symbolized the beginning of a new era. The Galactic Council had used the situation to foster a deeper understanding between the Zinthar and humans. The resolution had not only addressed the immediate concerns, but also opened doors for future cooperation. Back at Celestial Station, Laura and her team felt a mix of relief and anticipation. The experience had been challenging, but it had brought about significant changes. The humans had gained respect for their handling of the situation, and the Zinthar had been given a chance to show their capacity for reconciliation. The Council's decision had also initiated a collaborative project between the Zinthar and humans. The joint project aimed to explore new technologies and cultural exchanges, further solidifying the bond between the two species. This initiative was seen as a way to build on the goodwill generated by the Kiri incident. As the days passed, the story of Kiri and the humans' compassion began to spread throughout the galaxy. The tale was shared in news feeds, interstellar communications, and even as part of educational programs. It became a symbol of hope and cooperation, illustrating how even in the midst of conflict, understanding and empathy could lead to positive outcomes. Laura, Captain Reynolds, and their team continued their work on Celestial Station with renewed enthusiasm. They were now seen as ambassadors of goodwill, and their efforts were making a tangible impact on interspecies relations. The humans were recognized not only for their technological advancements, but also for their ability to bridge gaps and build friendships. One day, as Laura looked out at the bustling spaceport, she reflected on the journey they had undertaken. The challenges they faced with Kiri had brought them closer to understanding the complexities of galactic diplomacy. The experience had taught them valuable lessons about empathy, respect, and the power of cooperation. As she watched the new collaborative projects take shape and the interactions between species grow more harmonious, Laura felt a sense of pride. The story of Kiri had become a beacon of hope, reminding everyone that even the smallest acts of kindness could create ripples across the galaxy. The universe, vast and diverse, was full of possibilities. And as the humans and Zinthar worked together on their new projects, they were not just building technology, they were building a future where cooperation and understanding could thrive. The legacy of Kiri's story was a testament to the fact that in the end, hope and compassion could bridge even the widest gaps between worlds.